I mean, in a second. Our drummer's tangled up. It's tangled up in knots back here. You guys doing all right today? How's everybody doing online? Anybody watching online? Hope you guys are okay. You guys having a good summer?
You guys doing better than our drummer?
Are you doing better than our drummer right now? Are you ready? All right, let's worship together, yo. I want y'all to clap with us this morning. Come on. Let's thank God together this morning, all right? Sing it with us. Wandering into the night. Wandering into the night. Wanting a place to hide this weary soul. just can't win the fight. I'm slowly drifting, a vagabond. Come on, sing it with it. And just when I ran out of road, I met a man I didn't know, and he told me that I was not alone. He picked me up, he turned me around, he placed my feet on solid ground. I thank the Master, I thank the Savior, because he healed my heart, he changed my name, forever free. I'm not the same. I thank the Master, I thank the Savior, I thank God. Yeah, oh. Come on. I cannot deny what I see. Got no choice but to believe. My doubts are burning like ashes in the wind. So long to my old friends, burden and bitterness. You can't just keep it moving. No, you ain't welcome here. Come on, sing it with us. From now till I walk the streets of gold, I'll sing of how you saved my soul. This wayward son has found his way back home. He picked me up, he turned me around, he placed my feet on solid ground. I thank the Master, I thank the Savior, because he healed my heart, he changed my name, forever free. I'm not the same. I thank the Master, I thank the Savior. Oh, I thank God. Yeah, I thank God. We are saved by him this morning. Sing this with us. Come on. Hell lost another one. Now I am free. I am free. Come on, sing that with us. Hell lost another one. Now I am free. I am free. Come on, if you're free, sing it with us. Come on. Hell lost another one. Now I am free. I am free. Anybody saved out there? Come on. Hell lost another one. Now I am free. I am free. I am free. Hell lost another one. Now I am free. I am free. I am free. Hell lost another one. Now I am free. I am free. I am free. Hell lost another one. I am free. I am free. I am you free. Sing it with us. Hell lost another one. Now I am free. I am free. Oh, he picked me up, he turned me around, he placed my feet on solid ground. I thank the Master, I thank the Savior, because he healed my heart, changed my name, forever free. I'm not the same. I thank the Master, I thank the Savior, I thank God. Oh, I thank God. Thank you, Lord. Come on, sing it with us. Pick me up, turn me around, place my feet on solid ground. I thank the Master, I thank the Savior. Come on, sing it.
Because he healed my heart, changed my name, forever free. I thank the Master, I thank the
Come on,
Savior.
sing it. I thank God. Come on, make some noise this morning. Good morning. Welcome to C3. You can have a quick seat here for a moment, unless you're just hopping from all that praise and worship right there. Hey, listen, we are so glad you guys are here. My name is Aaron, one of the pastors. We are so excited that you would be a part of our service here today, whether you are sitting here in this actual building right now or you're watching online. We are so glad you guys would join us as we have the opportunity to worship God together, as we do it through song, as we do it through our conversations, as we do it through opening God's word and learning God's truth together. We are so glad that you guys would be here as we are continuing our second week of At the Movies. I'm so excited about this because we get to do a little what we call shenanigans around here and act a little foolish, have a little fun, but we also know exactly how to get serious, and that's by learning from God's truth. And we're going to continue to do that here today in this service. But before we get into that, we want to let you guys know if you are here with us for the first time, we're thankful for every single person that tunes in or comes to church. But we want you guys to know if you're here for the first time or you're watching for the first time, what we want you to do is text new to the number on the screen that's behind me if you're here with us. If you're watching online, it's the screen below me, whoop, right there. We want you to text new to that number to get a free gift card. That's just our way of saying thank you for being here. We want you guys to know that you are our VIP. You are a big deal, and we are so glad you are here. And we are also so glad that we get to continue to worship together. So we're going to do just that. Would you guys stand to your feet again, and let's sing some more. Let's sing this truth together today. Let this be our prayer. I count on one thing. The same God that never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God who's never late is working all things out. You're working all things out. Yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Oh, yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Yes, I will. Same God that never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now. The waiting. Same God who's never late, working all things out, working all things out. Oh yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Oh yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Yes, I will for all my days. Oh yes, I will. I choose to pray, to glorify the name of our Lord. And nothing can stand against. I choose to pray, to glorify the name of our Lord. And nothing can stand against. I choose to pray. Glorify the name of our name. And nothing can stand against. And I choose to pray. To glorify the name of our name. And nothing can stand against. Oh yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Oh yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh yes, I will all my days. Yes, I will all my days. Yes, I will. Father God, let that be our prayer today. Let us be able to say yes to you in everything. Help us be able to know that you have a plan and a purpose for every single person that is listening to this right now and is a part of this service. God, you have something in store for them. But God, we can only do that if we realize truly what it means to serve you, to love you. God, we ask now that we worship you together, realizing that you are real, you are purposeful, and you have a plan for us. You are alive today. Help us now to serve you and to praise you as we sing one more song to your praise, your honor, and your glory. We ask all these things in the blessed Son's name, Jesus Christ. Alone in my sorrows and dead in my sin, lost without hope, no place to begin. Your love made a way to let mercy come in. When death was arrested, my life began. Ash was redeemed, only beauty remains. My orphan heart was given away. My mourning grew quiet, my feet rose to dance. When death was arrested, my life began. For your grace so free washes over me. You have made me new, now life begins with you. It's your endless love pouring down on us. You have made us new, now life begins with you. Released from my chains, I'm a prisoner no more. My shame was ransomed faithfully. He canceled my debt and he called me his friend. When death was arrested and my life began. Oh, your grace so free washes over me. You have made me new, now life begins with you. It's your endless love pouring down on us. You have made us new, now life begins with you. Our Savior displayed on a criminal's cross. Darkness rejoices though heaven had lost. Come on, sing it. But then Jesus arose with our freedom in hand. That's when death was arrested, my life began. Come on, sing it with grace. Oh, your grace so free washes over me. You have made me new, now life begins with you. Amen. Amen. You may have a seat.
Afternoon, gents. It's Fieldsy, aka the One Man Show. Now, today's gonna be smooth sailing. We're just out here training, so nothing should be out of the ordinary. So just make sure you keep on watch. Now, I know we're from all over the place, so before we get in any part of the training, I need you guys to give me your name and your call number. Tiger King, Ironton, Ohio. The Beastmaster, from beautiful Peterborough. Whoa! Did you guys see that? I got a bogey on my 6. Tiger King, what do you got for me? What do you want me to do? I'm freaking out, man! Beastmaster, you gotta have something for me. Fresh out of missiles. I'm at a loss. Man, things just got real. What's our call here, folks?
Did somebody just call the KFQ? Hiya, boys. Mind if I crash the party? I thought we might make this a table for 4.
Well, I'll be a son of a Baptist if it ain't the Kentucky Fried Queen herself.
It's the KFQ, boys.
KFQ, we're in a real bind here. I hope you got something up your sleeve.
I got just the thing. Never send a man to do a woman's job.
Alicia! Well, that didn't go how I thought.
Well, that was something, wasn't it? Yeah. That's hard to follow, actually, both times, morning service and this one. Well, good morning. My name's Matt. I'm tender here. I've actually worked as a campus pastor and helping out with groups here, and asked me to speak here again this morning. Continue on with our series at the movies. I'm excited. I love movies. I really, really do. I like to go to the movies, watch movies, buy movies, all those kind of things. So I always enjoy them. I like the entertainment of them. Have always intrigued me ever since I was younger. And so I always love this series. I think it's a great avenue. It's a great way. But I know that's not for everybody. So the question today, starting off though, is are you a books are better than movies person? Because I know that there's a lot of people that say books are better. Anybody, books are better than the movies? You like the books? I see a few hands. Some people really just enjoy reading, having the experience and reading something as opposed to watching it on TV. It's a lot easier to watch it, obviously. But books can be satisfying and enjoyable. And as we jump in today, we're actually going to be looking at the movie called The Hobbit. Some of you are like, oh man, this fantasy, garbage from, I've never liked that, blah, blah, blah. But really, The Hobbit was a book first, and then they adapted it into movies. Back in 2001, if you remember the Lord of the Rings series, they did it. And then they made a bunch of money off the Lord of the Rings series. And then they said, well, we made a lot of money with that, so let's try and do that with The Hobbit. So they took that book and they tried to make it into it's a 237-page book, and they made it into 3 movies over almost 9 hours. Obviously trying to make that cash, how Hollywood does. So, but that's what we're going to be looking at today, because I think there's so much that you can garner from books, but even this movie, because they did, I would say, fairly faithful adaptation. I've actually read the book later on in life. I didn't read it when I was supposed to, 9th grade English. Miss Ross, don't kill me, but I didn't read it. I was supposed to read it as part of, actually English class, and I didn't read it when I was supposed to. But later on, I actually read it, and I enjoyed it. This book is set in kind of a fantasy type land. Years and years ago, I think it was built for kind of not for entertainment purpose necessarily when it was older, but to kind of exhibit some truths. And we know that's why this kind of series works, and the books work, and this movie works, in the sense that all truth is God's truth. We believe that. So wherever that truth is and wherever we find truth, all truth is God's truth. And so I think this book itself and movie what we're going to be looking at today, can show us some pieces for our own life, things that we can look at. And I don't think it's coincidence. The guy that wrote it, his name J.R.R. Tolkien. He wrote the actual book that was adapted into the movie. He was a Roman Catholic, so he had a deep faith and belief in Jesus Christ. And he actually was really good friends with C.S. Lewis, who some of us know, Chronicles of Narnia, that whole series. They were actually friends, and they had kind of a writers group that they used to meet together. Just a little nerdy history for you about all this. But C.S. Lewis thought that you should really put a lot of overtly Christian examples in your books, where Tolkien said, nah, I think just more the truth themselves coming out. And C.S. Lewis, as you can see, a lot of the Christ figure and other Christian examples, but Tolkien just said, I'm just going to show truth, and I think it comes out really, even as we look at it today, as we look at the books and look at this whole kind of series. The whole point of this, like I said, all truth is God's truth. It's this metaphors that we can take as examples. We all know that Jesus took stories and would tell stories, little parables that would exhibit, like I say, these truths and try to challenge people to think differently and look at life differently. That's one of the big things that Jesus did. Was he wasn't just about the words that he said and the message that he spoke and the life that he lived, but he also had those parables that show and challenge us. And I think today, if we allow ourselves, that God can continue to use different stories and paradigms and things along those lines to challenge our life and really look at, make us re-examine how we're doing things in our life. This story, this movie, if you take time and actually watch it, just so you know, it's based over 3 movies, almost 3 hours a pop, so like 9 hours. So go ahead and block off almost 2 days, because you can't do a marathon like watching it back to back to back. It's really long, but the actual first movie is what we're going to be looking at today, and in it there's a lot of different stories that I think we can go, like, really come out of it. There is things that happen that show that even though bad things happen, there can be a greater purpose. God can use those things. I think that's a theme that can come out of this. There's also this theme of the journey. And really, that's kind of where we're going to be talking about is really along those lines of what does it mean to have this Christian journey and following Christ, and what does that look like, and how can we do that with our own life, and where are we at in our journey, but then where are we continuing to go? So to kind of set the stage as we, before we watch our first clip, this whole story is set in, like I say, kind of a fantasy land in a sense. There's hobbits, which are really, really small people. This is basically what they are. And then there's these dwarves, and you'll see them in this actual first clip. And then there's this guy with a pointy hat. He's a wizard, something along those lines. And they come. The whole kind of story is this one guy. It's called The Hobbit because of this one guy named Bilbo Baggins, and what he does is he's a normal guy. He lives in this town. He enjoys his life. It talks about it at the very beginning of the book, and even in the movie. They just enjoy the simple pleasures of life and enjoy really comfort. That's the one big piece that they talk about is what is that comfort that he enjoys and loves, and living in that comfort zone. And so he's living, and what happens is Gandalf, the wizard guy, comes by and says, basically kind of ropes him into this whole journey of company with these other guys, and says, you're going to come along with us. And they come to his house, and you can see kind of this what's happening is it's really kind of starting to infringe upon his comfort at the very beginning of the story. And that's what we're going to see in this first clip.
Bomber, catch! Who wants an ale? There you go.
Have another drink. Here you go. Excuse me, that is a doily, not a dishcloth.
But it's full of holes.
It's supposed to look like that. It's crochet.
Oh, what a wonderful game it is, too. If you've got the balls for it.
Bothering to masticate these claws.
My dear Bilbo, what on earth is the matter?
What's the matter? I'm surrounded by dwarves. What are they doing here?
Oh, they're quite a merry gathering. Once you get used to them.
I don't want to get used to them. The state of my kitchen. There's mud, trod in the carpet. They pillaged the pantry. I'm not even going to tell you what they've done in the bathroom. They've all but destroyed the plumbing. I don't understand what they're doing in my house.
Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt, but what should I do with my plate?
Here you go, Warren. Give it to me.
Excuse me, that's my mother's Westfarthing bottle. It's over 100 years old. And can you not do that? You'll blunt them.
Ooh, do you hear that, lads? He says we'll blunt the knives.
Blunt the knives, bend the forks,
Smash the bottles and burn the corks.
the glasses and crack the plates. That's what Bilbo Baggins hates. Cut the clock, turn the back, leave the room for the bedroom mat, pour the milk on the pantry floor. Smash the wine on every door, drop the crust in a boiling bowl, pound them up with a pumpkin bowl. When you finish the video, send them down the hall to roll. That's what Bilbo Baggins hates.
You can see how many of us have dinners and parties like that at our house. Is that Thanksgiving dinner for most people? Yeah. No, it's an interesting story. And really, as you jump into this, you see that, he is so concerned and loving the comforts of his own life that he's worried about the plates, and he's worried about the knives and the forks, and really worried about all these kind of creature comforts in his own life. And, that's kind of an example in looking at our own life. How are we truly living? What are those things that we truly care about? What are the things that cause us anxiety? What are those things that we are focused on in our own life to where we're concerned that we necessarily shouldn't be? There's often times that we have our life and we have this focus, and we can get so concerned about things that truly don't matter. And that's this kind of whole message that, them coming in on him is kind of like what happens when we start to hear Jesus and Jesus's words. Jesus's message and how he lived his life really starts to infringe upon us and show us that the things that we care about, we probably shouldn't put as much stock and concern in. There are a lot of things that we worry about and things that we have anxiety about, things that consume our mind that we just doesn't really matter in the end. And see, Jesus comes and he says, not only am I going to share a message with you, but I'm going to show you what it looks like to live this life, to follow, God in your own life. This is what it looks like. And Jesus comes and he gives this huge, big message. It's kind of Sermon on the Mount in Matthew. And he says, if you want to come after me, if you want to live this life and truly not be concerned about the things that, you've been concerned about previously, you really want to live life and live life abundantly, this is how you do it. And he lines this all out in Matthew chapter 6. And one of the big places that he says here in Matthew 6:20 and 21 is, he says, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven where moth and vermin don't destroy and where thieves don't break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. You see, for us, the question as we're looking at this, what are we living for? The question is, where is my treasure? Where is my heart? Where do I live in my life and have my concern and things that truly cause me anxiety? And that's what Jesus comes and he says, don't worry about those things. If you're going to follow me, I can show you how to live a better life. Worry about the things that really truly matter, and that's my kingdom. My kingdom come, and God's will being done on this earth. See, we sometimes worry about our own kingdom, and that's what happened even in this story. You see Bilbo and this whole company of people that infringe and come into his house. It's like we worry about our own kingdom so much, and we don't worry about God's kingdom and what it looks like to live that out in life. We worry about our own comforts. We worry about our cars and our houses and our clothes and all these things that truly don't matter. That's where our heart's at. Jesus says, if you want to live a life that is truly fulfilling, live like me. Store up your treasures in heaven, doing for others and caring about my kingdom on this earth. And so he's met with this kind of example and really looking at it and saying, you know, what am I going to do with this? He's invited to go on this journey. And that's what Christ does for us. Jesus says, I'm inviting you to go on a spiritual journey in your life in following me. And we have this opportunity to truly look at it and say, do I want to do this? And what's it going to cost? Because this spiritual journey that he's been asked to go on. And really, you know, this metaphor here, Bilbo's asked to go with all of them. And that means stepping away from things. And that's what we're going to pick up in clip 2.
Mr. Bilbo, where are you off to? Stop, I'm already late. Late for what? I'm going on an adventure. Wait! Wait! I signed it.
Everything appears to be in order. Welcome, Master Baggins, to the company of Thorin Oakenshield.
So the decision when we're met with this example of what Christ has to say is, what are we going to do with this? What are we going to do with the message? And it begs the question, what are we willing to leave to follow Christ? You see, Bilbo in this story here, he's like, all right, I got to leave my house. I've got to leave my home. I've got to leave all the comforts that I have in following, you know, this company and going on this journey. And that's an example even for us, for how Jesus looked at it and said, this is what I did. Jesus said in Luke 9:58, foxes have dens and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. You see, Jesus' message wasn't just the words that he spoke, but the life that he lived. And so everything that he did shows us how we can live our own life. And the question for us is, what are we willing to leave? Jesus says, he didn't come to this earth and sit in some nice fancy castle and, wait for people to come and, meet him and talk to him about all his wisdom and everything that he provided to this earth. Jesus went. And he left everything. Even in the disciples in Luke 5:11, it says, so they pulled their boats up on shore and left everything and followed him. The disciples in the same way said, we're willing to do whatever it takes. We're willing to leave our families and our life. And so you might be sitting here thinking, is he talking about being a nomad or, just abandoning everything? But no, I think it's a greater thing to say, I have to be willing to leave my old life. I have to be willing to leave some comforts in how I live if I follow Christ. I have to be willing to become uncomfortable to follow him. And that's what Jesus said. I'm living uncomfortably. The disciples following him left and lived uncomfortably. And for us, we've got to be willing to do that same thing, get out of our comfort zones to follow him. That's where life truly happens. That's where he said we can have life and life more abundant. You see, Jesus also said, that I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except through me. When he said that, a lot of times we can brush over it, but he's saying, the way I lived, that's the way we should all live. The truth that I lived in my life, that's how you should live. And so for us to have life and life more abundant that he promised us, that comes through us mimicking him and his example, and even the disciples' examples. You look all through the Bible and you see Paul, going on his missionary journeys, and you see him riding boats and being locked up in jail and doing things, working at different places. He was willing to be uncomfortable in following Christ. A lot of times we want to follow Christ, but we don't want to be uncomfortable. We want to sit at home. We want to surround ourselves in a comfortable place. And we don't want to, take anything away from us. But Jesus says in Luke 9:23, he says to them all, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves, take up their cross daily, and follow me. That's what it means to be a follower of Christ. That's what it means to walk this path, to walk this journey that we're on, this Christian journey that we say we're on. A lot of times we think that we accept Christ as our Savior and I'm going to follow him, and all we care about is the end game. All we care about is, well, do I get to go to heaven at the end of all this? Okay, that's all I care about. But it's more about the here and now. Jesus said, again, we can have this life and life abundant, but what it takes to do that is to deny ourselves. It's no wonder that this world, that people that you hear these stories that, lottery winners that, have a house and get all these things and surround themselves, but yet they're still miserable. They still aren't happy. So often when times we think that there's all these other examples and things that's going to make us happy in our own life, that it's going to make us feel fulfilled. But fulfillment comes out of us following Christ and denying ourselves daily. So often we want to, self-indulge and self-satisfy and live for ourselves. But Jesus told us, if you want life, you got to deny yourself. That's where true life comes from. Oftentimes, have you done something for somebody and you felt like you got more out of it than you put into it? It's too easy for us to forget that feeling. It's too easy for us to forget that that's why God put us on earth. It's to live as this salt and this light on this earth, and to deny ourselves and to give to others. And so when we look at our life, we've got to ask this question. We think that, oftentimes it's going to be perfect, that I'm going to follow Christ and I'm going to deny myself and everything's just going to be wonderful. Rainbows and unicorns. Life's just going to be wonderful. Jesus also tells us, you follow me, it's not going to be wonderful all the time. He says that you're going to have suffering in this world. He tells us that the world hated me, and if you're following me, they're going to hate you too, because your lifestyle is not going to match up to the rest of the world. Your lifestyle isn't going to match up to everyone else's. And the way that you live and the way that you look and the way that you are acting, it's not going to jive. It's really not going to make sense to them. The world's going to be, that doesn't make sense. You shouldn't be doing that. And see, that's the whole kind of piece to even all this. This Hobbit's this kind of fantasy land. But even this concept of how Christ talks about living in his kingdom is different. What do you mean? For me to gain, I have to lose? He says, for those of you that want to gain, you want to gain your life, you got to lose your life. It seems like it's the opposite all the time. You mean you want to get more? Well, you need to give more. You want to live your life and you want to get more out of it? Well, then you need to give up things. That doesn't make sense. And Christ's example and his message doesn't make sense to us, and it doesn't make sense to the world in a lot of ways. But that's where true life comes from, in following him. And so things are going to happen, and we're going to come up against struggles. And that's kind of where we pick up in this last clip, is there's these huge struggles that happen, and they get captured, and they don't think they're going to make it out, and they're wondering about their life and death, and turns out, spoiler, they get out. And they're taking account, and they're kind of looking around. Let's do a count of everybody and make sure everyone made it out alive. We want to make sure everyone's here. We went through the tough time, and we want to take a kind of an inventory and make sure the whole company's here. And they think that Bilbo's not there. They can't find him. And they're wondering what happened. And that's where we pick up in clip 3.
Seven, 8, 4, that's 10. Philly, Kitty, that's 12. And Barbara, that makes 13. Miss Bilbo, where is our Hobbit? Where is our Hobbit?
Curse that halfling! Now he's lost. I thought he was with Dorry. Don't blame me.
But where did you last see him?
I think I saw him slip away when I first collared us.
But what happened exactly? Tell me!
I'll tell you what happened. Master Baggins saw his chance and he took it. He has thought of nothing but his soft bed and his warm hearth since first he stepped out of his door. We will not be seeing our Hobbit again. He is long gone.
No, he isn't.
Beckett, I've never been so glad to see anyone in my life.
Bilbo, we're giving you up. How on earth did you get past the goblins?
Oh, indeed.
Oh, what does it matter? He's back.
Matters. I want to know. Why did you come back?
I know you doubt me. I know you always have. And you're right, I often think of Bag End. I miss my books. And my armchair, my garden. See, that's where I belong. That's home. And that's why I came back, because you don't have one. A home. It was taken from you. But I will help you take it back if I can.
You see out there, there's a whole world just like these people in this movie. They had lost their home. They didn't have anywhere they felt they belonged. They didn't have somewhere that they felt that they fit in that world. And so, Bilbo takes off on this journey to try and help them gain their home back, find somewhere where they belong, somewhere where they fit in. And that's the piece to all of this for us is there's a whole world out there that feels the same way. There's people out there all over the place. We've talked about it over the past, couple weeks. We've done the whole Art of Neighboring series. And the people that are struggling around us, there's an entire world that don't feel like they belong anywhere. That doesn't feel like they have a home. They don't feel like they fit in anywhere. And if Jesus showed us anything, it was that he made people feel like they belong. He accepted people for who they were. He showed us how to live our life to where we can accept others and bring them in and build this community. And that's what we're designed to do as we say that we're following Christ and we're walking this path. We got to ask ourselves that question, what are we living for? What are we willing to live for? You see, we say we're following Christ, but are the things that we're saying matching up? Jesus told us in John chapter 15, greater love has no one than this, that a person will lay down his life for his friends. Jesus did that. We hear the story. We know the story of, Jesus. Well, we automatically think, oh, Jesus died on the cross for us so we could all go to heaven. But Jesus did that way before the cross. And a lot of times we forget that Jesus denied himself every day. He went out and made himself available to people so that other people felt included in this life and gave them a place where they felt accepted and gave them a place where they could come in and feel like it's okay to be me. And that's what we're talking about for us living this life. Are we willing to love people in that way? We say we follow Christ, but are our words matching this? Is our life truly like Christ? Do people call you a Christian because of your lifestyle? Because a lot of times we want to say that Christianity's, I'm a Christian. We claim I'm a Christian. We say it like I'm a Cincinnati Reds fan, or I'm a Browns fan. I'm a Christian. I'm a Democrat. I'm a Republican. We say it in that same way. But the fact of the matter is, to be called a Christian was what the world called the people and how they were living their life. Over in Acts 11, it says that they were living their life in a way that they were truly called Christians because of how they were living. It says, so for a whole year, Barnabas and Saul met with the church and taught great numbers of people. The disciples were called Christians first at Antioch. Read that and say, it wasn't that they just said, this is what we're going to be called. This is how we're going to be identified. No, it's what everyone else saw, that they were living life like Christ. And the question for us is, are we living that life? Are we living the life that people would say, that looks like Christ and how Christ would live in today's world? And so that's the challenge for us on this whole journey. Maybe we've taken the first step and we've walked away and we've jumped on the journey and now we've left some things, but we've been pulled back into some comfort zones and other places. But the question is, are we continuing on this journey and pushing ourselves to be better Christians every day? Are we really truly looking at our life and saying, how can I be more like Christ in my life today and on this journey that I call? Jesus told us in John 13:35, by this all people will know you are my disciples if you have love for one another. Do we have love for one another so that people see us in this way? Or are we just like everybody else? How do people truly look at us and distinguish us from any other average American? And that's the question for us. Are we truly pushing forward and saying this is what it truly means to live Christ-like in today's day and age? This is what it would look like for the church to be living out. What does the world see when they look at you? And that's the question. What do they see? Because the world is looking for God. They're looking for Jesus in this world. And the only example they have is us. But the hard thing right now is, do they see Christ in us? You see, there's a saying from an old song, it's a writer, Brennan Manning. He said a long time ago, but I think it's pertinent today. He said, the greatest single cause of atheism in the world today are Christians. And just think about that, the first part. The greatest single cause of atheism in the world today are Christians who acknowledge Jesus with their lips, walk out the door, deny him by their lifestyle. This is what an unbelieving world finds unbelievable. You see, the world's looking at us, those of us that are Christians, to see God in this world, to see Christ working in this world. And the question is, are we that? Would people look at us and say, you're a Christian based on your lifestyle? Not based on what you say you are, but truly, does it look like Christ in this world? Let's bow our heads. Maybe today this is your first time actually being in church, and you say, I'm ready to take this journey. I'm ready to take these steps. I don't know anything about Jesus, but I know that I've heard that he loves and cares about me, and he does. We do too as a church. And maybe you want to take that step today. And so if there's someone sitting here today that hasn't taken that first step, I want to help you through that today. I want you to pray this prayer. I want you to say, God, I'm sorry for the life that I've lived, and I want to follow your Son, Christ. I want to seek his salvation in this day and for my future. And I pray that you would help me to walk this path as best I can. If there's anyone here that prayed that prayer today, I want you to do something real bold. I want you to just slip up your hand. No one's going to come back there. Just slip up your hand and say, I prayed that prayer for the first time today. Is there anyone? As the rest of us sit here and we look at our life, maybe it's time to just take a real good moral inventory of it and say, where is my life not meeting up with Christ? Where is my life need to improve so that I can be more like Christ? And as you sit here today, I want to take just a few moments of silence and let you pray. Pray that to God to help you in this way. God, we're thankful for your Son, Jesus, and we're thankful for the example he set. Thankful for the great sacrifice he made in his life. But through all that, help us to be your hands and feet. Help us to be this world's light in all that we do. Help us to be Christ to them as best we can. And I pray, Father, that you would just help us as a church to continue to reach this community and showing them that your love and your caring, your compassion. We thank you for all that you've done and all that you've blessed us with. Thank you for your grace and mercy. I pray that you would just help us as we go down through this week, continue walking this path. Thank you. In your name we pray. Amen. Guys, we thank you for this. So we're going to continue on with the movie series next week. Hope to see you back. Have a great week.